I just had my first ever police interaction where I shared honestly that I have no form of ID, no government ID, no driver's license, no passport, no birth certificate, no social security card. And I shared that I'm just me, Robin Greenfield, just a human. And this is something that many of you have asked about, with me living in many ways so far outside of the system. What happens if I interact with a police officer? So I thought I would share with you. And this is an interesting experiment that I'm on because I don't have all the answers. How it started was a couple of people pulled over because they saw me walking. I'm walking from Canada to Los Angeles. Here's my carts that I take along with me to meet my basic needs. And they asked if they could take a picture with me. And I said sure. And at that same moment, a police officer, a sheriff, came by and they said, "Is everything all right?" And when they asked that question, they're actually asking for a little bit more than that. I said, yeah, they just wanted to take a picture with me. So she gets out of the car, and one of the first things she wants to know is who I am. She starts to ask some questions. She asks if I have a form of identification, and I share honestly and openly that no, I do not have a form of identification. Now, in that moment, I could see that she was feeling some sort of concern. And so I said, I'm sensing that maybe you're feeling concern over my presence. And in that moment, you could see there was a shift. She went from, I would say, more of a fear or concern to seeing me for the full human being that I am a human being. And things relaxed a bit. And then she looked down at my feet and she said, "Are those homemade shoes?" And I said, yes, they're made of wool and leather, and the leather is sewed on. And again, it created a human connection. I then interacted with the people who had stopped to take a photo with me, as we're all a bunch of humans and we're all equal, and spent some time with them. And the officer decided to ask me some deeper information about who I am. She asked me my first name, Robin, my last name, Greenfield, my middle name, Julian, where I would have had an identification last. Was it in Wisconsin, she asked? And I said, well, it's been a long time since I had a driver's license, but the last one would have been in San Diego, California. And I told her the former address. And I continued to engage with her, but I also continued to engage with the others. They wanted to take a photo, so we took the photo. And the police gave me some warning of, her concern for me being on the road with there being other traffic, advised against it. And I understand the advice against it, but I am a human being, just as the people in cars are human beings, and I also have access to the road, and I am utilizing that access. So it was an interesting interaction. I definitely feel a little bit of anxiety, but overall it was relatively smooth, and it was the first time interacting with a police officer where I openly and honestly shared that I have no form of identification. She said goodbye, the others said goodbye, and I was on my way, continuing on my walk. I'm almost to San Francisco from Canada, so I'm about 1,100 miles in, 4 months in, and I'll be in Los Angeles in mid-January. I have about 50 days left. Now, I do want to share one thing that's really important with this scenario, both interacting with the police and being able to walk the way that I am and practice this level of autonomy and freedom. My needs for stability and safety are very largely met, and a big part of that is absolutely the privilege that I have. And I don't talk about privilege from a place of virtue signaling, from a place of wanting to be loved. I talk about it because it's the reality. It's the truth that I'm gonna be interacted with differently a large portion of the time from police officers because of who I am. And other people are gonna have often very different interactions with the police officers because of who they are, not because of doing anything wrong whatsoever, but because of a lot of the societal structures of the dominator culture in this country. So being a white man, being a US American, many different privileges. I have many different privileges, and they play a role in me having this freedom and this autonomy. And I really feel that it's incredibly important to acknowledge that, because my intention is to ascend delusion, to live in a place of truth and integrity, and to not acknowledge that truth. I think it's a huge part of the puzzle that's important to keep in mind when we're working to understand our place in society and working to deeply deprogram our mind and be of service to society. So that's the experience for today, and I'm glad to have been able to share it. I'm glad to be on this journey with you of breaking free from the systems that don't serve us as a humanity and the earth and the plants and animals that we share this earth with. And certainly what I'm doing is extreme in many ways, but I'm here with you to bring attention to how extreme our society actually is. I'm a human being. Remember this, it's only a concept that we have to be identified. There is no such thing as an illegal human being. That's a concept by humans. And this is what I want to bring attention to, that we are all human beings who have the same basic needs and desires. And I'm here on this journey with you to be of support, to create critical thought, self-reflection, and I hope that you're experiencing that with me. Well, that right there is another police officer driving away. I'm 1,100 miles into the trip and I hadn't been stopped by a police officer, and now 2 in one day. And he was very curious about me not having an ID. And this was a new experience. He asked if I had any hard thing, and I showed him a copy of my book. And told him that I did a year of growing and foraging all my food. So apparently something happened back in Point Reyes, which I just walked through, and they thought maybe I was the person who did it. So 1,100 miles into the walk, and 2 separate police officers, and again, just very authentic, very engaged, 100% open and honest, and I could see that having gone a different way for sure. But as I engaged just authentically and openly and honestly, I saw the emotions change in him. And of course, I saw him as a human being. I am not a fan by any means, of the police force in this country. I think it is an incredible issue. There's a lot of police brutality. The prison industrial complex is one of the greatest issues of our time. So I am by no means an advocate for that style of care for our citizens, but I do believe that every police officer is a human being, and some of them abuse their powers and others do use their power to be of service to the people. So I will continue to always see police officers as human beings, the human beings that they are. Underneath that suit, they are a naked body, just like every one of us, with their own insecurities and desires to be safe and to be able to go home to their family safe. And so I am completely committed to seeing them as human beings, as we all are. Let's see when the next police officer interaction is. I'm guessing there'll be another before I get to Los Angeles. I love you all very much, and for those of you who I interact with along the way between here and Los Angeles, I look forward to sharing a loving hug and a connection.